All right, ESPN's Tom Luginbill joins us now, and he does so courtesy of Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear, just off I-65 in Coleman. He's on the Johnston RV Center hotline. What is up, Luke? How are you?
Good morning, fellas. How we doing today? What a heck of a football game.
That was a crazy one, wasn't it? I mean, it had a lot of stuff in it. Ultimately, though, I mean, you're playing without John Mechie, and when Jamison Williams goes down, your pass game. I mean, I thought Bryce Young did a fantastic job of manufacturing a pass game without those two guys, but ultimately, it's going to be hard to beat a Georgia team without those two guys.
Yeah, it is, and more so Williams than Mechie, in my opinion. And that's not to take anything away from John Mechie, but it was very clear early in that game that Slade Bolden was just fine. Got open, created some opportunities. Bryce Young was able to find him. But when you take away that big thoroughbred on the outside, that changed everything. And it changed everything not because the guys now playing weren't good enough, but they're not experienced enough for that moment. I think Ja'Cory Brooks, I think Hall, JoJo Earl, that's going to be three great players for Alabama the next couple of years. And Kirk said this last night during the broadcast, when you're getting some heat, you're getting some pressure, and now all of a sudden you have some guys that maybe you haven't worked with quite as much. You don't quite have that camaraderie. And, you normally throw to a spot, the guy's going to be right there, but all of a sudden now a receiver's a yard short, or he's 2 yards deep, or he doesn't snap his head around, and you're just out of sync a little bit. You combine that with the pressure packages that I thought Georgia did a really nice job timing up. It just made for a very, very difficult night. And on top of it, guys, Alabama just refused to run the football too. And for obvious reasons, but you'd think that outside of the third quarter, we would have saw a little bit more of an attempt in the first half to try to run the football.
Lugs, we've talked about this Georgia defense being a generational defense, but I thought the first 30 minutes, Alabama's defense actually looked better.
They did. I thought that they did a really, really nice job with some of their pressure stuff. I don't think anybody's blocked Christian Harris or Will Anderson yet. Those two guys are on. I think if Alabama would have won the game, you can make an argument that Christian Harris would have been the MVP for the plays that he was making. And, it was interesting because I was just jotting down some notes for television today as I was going back and forth with our producers. And the red zone defense on behalf of both teams, and you talk about Alabama and how they played, and they really gave up one play, the entire first half, and it was the field position flipping play to George Pickens, and guess what? They forced a field goal. It was unbelievable. And you know how we always talk about, it's not always the plays you make, it's the mistakes that you avoid. And I just felt kind of as the game went on, at the end of the day, Georgia probably just made a couple less mistakes than Alabama did.
Yeah, I think a great analysis there. Tom Luginbill's with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What can you say about Stetson Bennett? That very first play that they run, they fake a sweep to the left. He spins to go roll out right side, and there's Christian Harris. And he's like, oh my goodness, nobody bought the fake here. And he tries to make a move on Christian and he goes down. And you think this guy is rattled, and he looked rattled all the way to, and then they're down in the fourth quarter. And Kirby puts the ball in his hands and says, go throw and win us the national championship. And he did. He was shaky throughout, but at the end, he delivered. You played the position. What do you make of that performance at the end?
I just thought he never looked at the scoreboard. He never worried about the last play because you can't control the last play. You can only control the next play in front of you. And I thought he showed a remarkable level of maturity in doing just that, having a short memory. Because, guys, that entire first half, I mean, they're third and a mile on just about every series. Their field position was horrendous. They were heavily penalized. They couldn't run the football. I mean, it was just they couldn't get out of their own way. Fortunately, they were playing great red zone defense, so Alabama wasn't able to get on the board from a touchdown perspective. But I think what helped Georgia maybe more so than anything else, and I think this falls in line with your question about Stetson Bennett. In the previous matchups between these two teams, if you remember, Georgia got up early. They got ahead early. They gained momentum. And all of a sudden, when you do that, you tend to lose a little focus. Maybe you take your foot off the gas a little bit, and you get a little bit loose, and all of a sudden, Alabama would come back and win the football game. The way this game played out, I think, helped Georgia. The fact that they didn't jump out, that they couldn't lose focus, that they knew they were within a kick or a touchdown of winning the thing all the way up to the last couple of minutes of the game was really, really important. And I think that took pressure off of Stetson Bennett, because now you're not having the, oh, here we go again type of mentality. You're actually in the football game at the end, And you're right. Kirby Smart did a great job of just saying, all right, young man, here we go. And he didn't make catastrophic errors. Now, was he perfect? No, but he didn't make catastrophic errors.
ESPN's Tom Luginbill is with us. He joins us each week, courtesy of Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear, just off I-65 in Coleman. Looking ahead for Alabama, we've talked a lot about Will Anderson, and he's been a stud all year. He may be the best player in America. But from start of the year to where we were last night, I don't know that anybody on that defense has come further than Dallas Turner. That kid is a stud. Those guys on the same front, Luginbill, that is going to be a handful for teams.
Oh, and those three freshman wideouts coming back with Bryce. I mean, there are some components. Now, they got exposed a little bit last night on the perimeter, and I knew that was a worry for them going in. But this is going to be a really, really good, experienced football team. And you're right. Dallas kind of reminds me of, what Tim Williams and Rashaan Evans were, and you combine the two of them and you just got this holy terror off the edge of what we've seen really from Will Anderson too. So going to be very, very difficult to hold up against. And I'll tell you, I think Kirk mentioned it last night too. And everybody gets enamored with Will Anderson and the pass rush and all this and that. You see him play the run last night. I mean, he was really, really good at the point of attack, which I think just further ups his stock.
So it took Georgia 41 years to snap the streak. If I asked you moving forward, more national championships, Kirby Smart or Nick Saban?
I would probably say Kirby Smart just because of the timeline. But I do think it's important that Georgia gets over this hurdle and now doesn't wonder if they can do it. They know they can do it. And that's an entirely different mindset. And it's not an easy one to get over, as we've witnessed over the last 4 to 5 years with the University of Georgia. You've got a youthful, energetic coaching staff. You've got every resource known to man. You've got a fantastic roster. The only thing that I would say, and I think it's fair, is, and I'm not blaming Kirby for this because I think it was just horrendous timing, but outside of Justin Fields and the fact that thing didn't work out, if they want to continue to win national championships, they're going to have to recruit the quarterback position better. You're the University of Georgia, and as great as the Stetson Bennett story is, and everybody loves it, and rightfully so, they should. You're the University of Georgia. You should be able to go out and get you a C.J. Stroud, get you a Tua Tagovailoa, get you a Bryce Young, get you a Deshaun Watson. And if they go out and they get one of those guys, they're going to win a lot of national championships.
You skipped right over Justin Fields, who they got and let go.
No, I mentioned him. I mentioned him at the beginning. That's what I was saying. I think a lot of people say, well, how did that get screwed up? Well, who would have envisioned that Jake Fromm was going to take him to a national champion? Nobody saw that coming. Remember, Jake Fromm wouldn't have been playing if Jacob Eason doesn't get hurt. So what are you going to do? Put Jake Fromm on the bench and just play Justin Fields just because he's a high-profile guy? You're not going to do that, And so it didn't work. But since then, they've got to be better at that position, I think, from a recruiting perspective.
I was about to tweet this out, but ESPN Stats and Info just beat me to the punch because Alabama's the SEC champion and Georgia's the national champion.
Yeah.
It happened in 2011 when LSU was the SEC champ and Alabama won it. 2017, Georgia SEC champ, Alabama won it. And it just happened again last night. What does that say about the SEC to you compared to other conferences?
It says that the common denominator always has been and always will be the strength of the fronts and the offensive and defensive line and the quarterback play. It begins from the inside out, and until people can put together those types of players and that type of depth consistently, like a Clemson has, like a Ohio State has done before. We've seen it from an LSU. We've seen it from an Auburn. But those common denominators are not changing. And for all of this talk about playoff expansion and all of those sorts of things, don't be surprised if we were to get to a point at some point in the near future and the Final Four, 3 of them are SEC teams. That's how the league is built. And I think, for those who say, well, I've got fatigue about Alabama, or we've got fatigue with Georgia or Clemson. Well, what do you want? Do you want the best football teams playing for it? I know I do. So I don't care if they come from Mars or Jupiter or Earth or Alabama or Georgia. I want the best teams playing for the national championship.
Now that football season is over, what is the thing you've been putting off that you will be able to do?
My taxes. No, I gotta be honest with you. I got we got the latter part of signing day coming up. We've got our camping combine circuit that we've got to go scout, and in some instances, I get involved in the coaching side. in the spring and the summer. But I'll tell you what I am going to be doing. I'm going to be taking some breaks to go skiing. In fact, starting this weekend, going to be going with my wife. We're going to go to Vermont, get a couple of days just to actually get reintroduced to my wife, who has been a single mother now for about 6.5 months. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Will you have the Captain America suit, the cape and all? Does that travel everywhere?
For skiing or getting reacquainted with his wife?
No, for the skiing.
Both. Will are you kidding me? How would I not wear the single greatest ski suit in the history of mankind?
It's a great question. I mean,
of course. I might just start wearing that down the street if it gets cold enough.
All right, he's ESPN's Tom Luginbill. Follow him on Twitter at Tom Luginbill. He's joining us each week courtesy of Jack's Western and Outdoor Wear off I-65 in Coleman. Enjoy the skiing, Lugs, and we'll talk again soon.
You bet, guys. Enjoy the week.
All right, buddy. Take care. That is ESPN's Tom Luginbill now with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.